Hey, World History. This is Miss Corey. Welcome to U6-L1 India Basics. So get ready because we have a lot of vocab to get through today. Learning targets to interpret surviving evidence about early human history and discern what we can and cannot know about early humans from these sources. Your job, you're going to watch this Ed puzzle, answer the questions. Any question in blue is going to be a question I want you to answer directly on the Ed puzzle. If you have any questions for us, though, please let your teacher know. We are here to help you. All right, so when you think of India, what do you think of? So there's a variety of things you may think of. So here's a map of India right here. You can see that it is pretty much just this giant peninsula. It borders with Pakistan, which used to be part of India at one point. We'll talk about that when we talk about the world wars. It also borders a little bit of China, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. So here's where India is located on Earth. So again, here's us over here in Minnesota. So India is way over here, kind of like in southern central Asia. And you may think of cows because cows are very sacred in some Indian societies, which we will talk about today as well. You may think of a lot of traffic because there's a lot of people that live in India. So in India, there's about 1.4 billion people, and compare that to about 332 million that live in the United States. You may think about the river Ganges as well. We'll talk about that today. You may think of monkeys because they like to steal stuff, especially from tourists. You may think of religious aspects, which we will talk all about today. You might think of the Taj Mahal, which is a very famous tourist spot and also religious site. Or you may think of Bollywood movies because they have some extreme physics in them. All right, so let's talk about the geography of India first. So, India is a subcontinent, meaning that it is physically separated from the rest of Asia. So, you can kind of see that here on the map. India, I mean, it has some bumps right here, but it's mostly flat compared to this right here. So, those are the Himalayan mountains. They're very steep and treacherous mountains in the north. And then the Indian Ocean surrounds the rest of India through the south, the east, and the west. So in the north, it is very mountainous with lots of forests. The north is also the Great Basin, which is the start of the Indus and the Ganges River. Both are very important rivers to India. So the Indus River gives northern India, which is and also modern day Pakistan, water for drinking and agriculture in an otherwise very dry climate. The Ganges River is seen as the goddess Ganga, which people bathe in it for religious purposes, like these people are doing right here. It is thought to clean the soul. The sad part is today this river is super populated in areas or polluted in areas, just with industrial waste as well as just like everyday human trash. It is also a holy site. So people also like to scatter ashes of the dead in the river as well. And it's also a main water source for major cities in India today. All right, in the middle of India, so kind of in this green space right here, is the Deccan Plateau. It is very dry and rocky, as you can kind of see from an aerial view. There's a little bit of vegetation. Then we have the western coast, which is very tropical. So you have lots of lush kind of tropical forests as well as palm trees. Then we have monsoons. So India's weather is based around the dry and monsoon seasons. So the cold air of the mountains and the warming water of the Indian Oceans kind of collide together and create a lot of wind in June through September. And it can drop anywhere between a foot and a half to 32 feet of rain. Think of that, 32 feet of rain within June through September. What is that, like 3, 4 months? That's a lot of rain. Farmers can also have up to 3 crop seasons in one year just because of the warmer climate, but also with all the excess rain. All right, now let's switch to ancient India. So the first humans arrived to India at about 63,000 BCE. The first civilization popped up at about 2,500 BCE. Those first civilizations would have agriculture and grow things like wheat, barley, rice, and millet, which this is millet, by the way. It's a type of grain. So let's talk about the Harappan civilizations. So they're also called the Indus civilizations. It is a grouping of over 100 ancient towns located in what is modern day Pakistan, which used to be a part of India. But again, we'll talk about that more when we talk about the world wars. It was first unearthed in 1921 in the city of Harappa, Pakistan. And this group of cities was populated between 3,300 to 1,300 BCE, so about a 2,000-year span. And it was believed to be actually a matriarchal society, meaning that the powers and families were passed from mother to daughter. So the population estimated in all the towns would be about 23,000 to 35,000 people. They would grow things such as wheat and barley, mustard, sesame, peas, dates, and cotton as well. They would domesticate animals such as cats, dog, cattle, like you can see here in this statue, pigs, camels, and water buffalo. So it is not much is known about the civilizations besides the archaeological finds. So their Harappan civilization had writing, but historians have not deciphered it yet. So, if anyone out there wants to go decipher a cool ancient language, this would be a good one to go do. Uh, but archaeolog, oh my gosh, archaeologists have found things such as iron statues of dancing girls, carts, animals, and chariots. So this tells us that they had dances. They also had transportation. They had chariots for warfare, and they also had the technology for iron smelting. Because since these iron statues were made out of iron. All right, they also did something called creating seals. So seals, kind of like this, are usually small round or square blocks. So clearly this one's a square one with a symbol and or words carved into it. So this has both. So you'll see here that there's some sort of cattle right here. This right here is the Harappan civilization's language, which again, no one can decipher what it is. They would then take this little block, press it into some fresh clay, and then it would pop out with this little symbol here. Pretty cool. So it would be shown as someone's signature. The seals were typically made of soapstone, which is what this is right here, and carved with a copper cutting tool. So jewelry was made out of lapis lazuli, turquoise, and jade, have all been found in Harappa. But, these minerals aren't found in modern day Pakistan. So here's a question for you. What does the presence of these minerals tell us? Take your best educated guess. That's right. These people traded. They traded with places such as Iran and Iraq for turquoise and lapis lazuli. And they also would trade as far as China for jade. So, jade is also a kind of precious stone. It kind of is like this milky green color. This handle right here is made out of jade, by the way. All right, now let's talk about the Vedic age. So the Vedic age was from 1500 to 500 BCE. It was named after Vedas. So Vedas are religious texts that are the main source of information for this age. Here's an example of what one of the Vedas texts looks like. It is a collection of thousands of poetic hymns to different Hindu gods. It was originally passed down orally, but it started to be written down about 1500 BCE. So the thing about the Vedic age is that they were a group of people that were not related to the Harappan people. Okay, so two totally separate groups. They were not genetically identical in any way. The Vedic people were from Indo European, meaning that they were people who came from Europe and Western Asia. So the Vedic people would migrated from Europe and the Middle East all the way to northwest India in about 1500 BCE. So just to give you a little bit of perspective here. So like right, here's Europe, here's the Middle East. So these people, the Vedic people, traveled all the way over the Himalayas and into India. They spoke Indo-European languages. So those would be languages that came from Europe as well as Southwest Asia. The Vedic people were mostly herders, so they liked to raise a lot of cattle. Cattle became a very important role in society, and it may be why some Indians see cattle as sacred today. At about 1000 BCE, they would then travel to the Ganges Plain in northeast India. There, they would do a lot of farming by using iron plows attached to oxen to plow fields. Of course, this isn't a photo from India, but it kind of just gives you a little bit more of an idea of what those plows may have looked like. This would be more of a European plow, but you can see how it digs into the earth while the cattle pull, and then you can plant your seeds. So during the Vedic age, there was a constant conflict between two groups of people. The first group were the Aryans, the second were the Dasas. So stories of these conflicts were not written until generations after the conflicts. So that means that these stories were passed down through generations orally, so they were spoken. So the only problem with that is when these stories are passed down through orally, a lot of the facts get messed up. So if you've ever played like the game telephone, you go like in a big group around like in a circle, and typically the last person who says something is very different than what the first person started with, kind of the same thing. So it's really unknown, like who these people were, if the times were right, if the details of the story are right. This happens in all societies too that have generationally oral stories. So it's really unknown what is true and what is fake. So the Ryans were seen as light-skinned Indo-European speaking people. The Dasas were then the darker skinned natives, so they weren't from Europe or the Middle East, and they spoke the Dravidian language. Aryans would then push the Dasas into the less fertile southern regions of India and introduce patriarchal society to India as well. So that means that the power in the family is then passed from father to son, not mother to daughter. So over time, the color of one's skin, or varna, in India influenced the creation of something called a caste system. So the caste system is a hierarchy of people in a society. It does not just It's not just in India. Caste systems exist all across the world. But today, of course, we're going to focus on the Indian caste system. And in India, the caste system is called jati. All right, so here's the pyramid of the caste system. So at the very, very top, we have the Brahmins, which are the priests, they're the academic classes. Below that, we have the Kshatriyas, which are the rulers, administrators, warriors. Then the Vaishyas, which are the artisans, tradesmen, farmers, and merchants. And then we have the Shudras, which are the manual laborers. By the way, I probably totally botched the pronunciation of all of those, so don't quote me on any of those. And then at the very, very, very bottom of the caste system, like it's so on the bottom that is not even like attached to the caste system, we have the Dalits, or the people are also called the untouchables. So these people are the street cleaners. They do the menial tasks, such as tanning hides of animals, touching the ashes of cremated people, or the disposing of dead animals. So these untouchables are such on the bottom of the caste system. They're given the name untouchables because if you touch them, like people think like it's unlucky or dirty. It's a really dehumanizing caste system. So the person was born into their caste system and they could not move up or down castes. They would also have to marry within the caste that they are born into. They can also only eat with other people in that caste. And if a higher caste person touches a lower caste person, that higher caste person would have to do a purification ritual because it would be seen as like dirty or unlucky. So the discrimination and the caste system was actually made illegal in 1950, which isn't that long ago. It's only about 75 years ago. So just to put in perspective, there are people who are still alive today that were born when the caste system was still perfectly legal. Socially, caste system is still used today, although not legally. So a person is born into their caste, and through reincarnation or rebirth, if that person did good in their previous life or had positive karma, they would then be reborn into an upper caste. All right, so we'll talk more about the caste system when we read an excerpt in U6-L7, Growing Up as an Untouchable Primary Source Reading. It is a small passage about Sujatha Gidla's life growing up as an untouchable. So that's her right here. She was born in Andhra Pradesh, India in 1963. She's a double outsider in India society there. She is both an untouchable as well as a Christian. So Christians only make up about 2.3% of the population of India today. She ended up immigrating to the US when she was 26 years old. So Hinduism in India. So Hinduism is a huge religion in India, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about what is Hinduism video. That's one of those cheesy like 1990 videos again. But again, it really does a great explanation of the religions. So Hinduism is a polytheistic religion. It started about 2000 BCE. Today, it has about 900 million followers. It is not one solid religion, but many similar religions overlapping. So, for example, they believe in the same major gods, which I'll talk about in just a minute here. But each region may have their own local deities or gods or ways of worship. So Hinduism, they believe all living things have an Atman or a soul, and then through rebirth or reincarnation, a soul can move up in the hierarchy of life. Once a soul has done enough good things or drama, they can reach moksha or salvation. So moksha breaks the cycle of rebirth, and the soul can be at peace. The video, there's like this little girl who explains all of this, by the way, in the video, and she does a way better job than what I'm trying to do here. Hindus also believe that the cow is very sacred, so it cannot be killed or eaten. That's why cows roam the streets of India with no disturbance typically. Sometimes they get these really cool flower little necklaces too. Most Hindus are vegetarian or they just don't eat beef or pork. And there is no one holy book in Hinduism. So, like in Christianity and Islam and Judaism, you have like the Bible or the Quran or the Torah. With Hinduism, there's not just like one main book. There's many, many books. So those are the Vedas, which we talked about a few slides before. They're the main holy texts, but again, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. All right, so there are seven big gods in Hinduism, and they are worshipped throughout the Hindu peoples. So the first one is Brahma, who is the god responsible for the creation of the world and all living things. Vishnu, the god that preserves and protects the universe, comes back to help Earth through incarnations, aka avatars. So avatars are like incarnations of gods, but they don't have like just one specific shape that the gods come to Earth in. There's like the gods take on many forms and shapes. The video will explain more. There's also Shiva, which is the god that destroys the universe in order to recreate it. Devi, the goddess that fights and restores drama. Krishna, which is the god of compassion, tenderness, and love. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and purity. And Saraswati, which is the goddess of learning. So here is a picture of some of the like artwork of some of these gods. Again, they take many, many, many forms. All right, so get ready. I'm going to speed through the next two Indian empires. All right, so the Mauryan Empire is what we're going to talk about next. So the Mauryan Empire would be this big blue chunk of India, which pretty much makes up most of what is modern day India. So the Mauryan Empire was from 324 to 184 BCE. It is India's first centralized empire, meaning that the majority of India is united under one government, which we can see right here on this map back here. Again, most of India is covered by this. It is known for their high taxes on its people. For example, as much as a fourth of what a farmers grow would then go to the government as a tax. It's pretty high. But the benefit to that is that the government has well-maintained military, meaning they have lots of infantry, cavalry, chariots, and also, yes, that's right, war elephants. The government monopolized on tolls or fees on trade routes, as well as metal mines, alcohol, and manufacturing weapons. During this time, women could own and inherit property as well. All right, next let's talk about the Gupta Empire. So the Gupta Empire, if you look at the smaller map over to the left here, it is going to be kind of this medium blue color here, so kind of like this belt along northern India. All right, so they were from 320 to 550 CE. They expanded and maintained trade routes. They focused on agriculture in the Ganges Plains. Women during this time lost a lot of their rights and moved towards more of a patriarchal society. So that means that the power is passed from father to son. So during the Gupta Empire, women could not own or inherit property. All businesses and wealth were controlled by men. Women could not study sacred texts, which are the Vedas. They could not sacrifice animals. Girls were often married at 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, think about that for a second. 6 or 7 years old. I mean, that's like first or second grade. The reason for this is because the future husband would then raise the girls himself. So that girl would turn out to be the way that he wanted her to be. Women had to obey their fathers after they got married. They would have to obey their husbands. And if the husband died before them, they would then have to obey their sons. Women were also expected to perform something called sati if her husband died. So her husband's body would be laid on top of a wood pile, kind of like this, to be cremated or some other burnable material, and ready to be burned. She would then have to sit on his body and burn herself to death with his body. And if a woman didn't do so, she would be shunned from society. All right, so during the Gupta Empire, there were some positive things as well. For example, the Arabic numerals we made or that we use today were made popular. So the symbols of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0 were invented. And those are the numerals number symbols that we use today. They also invented zero, which is a placeholder for larger numbers. They created math based on the 10 system, which is also what we use today. So, like ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, etc. Eventually, the Arabs, which are the Muslims, would use these numerals too. Then that they would bring them over to Europe, teach Europeans about them. Europeans love the simplicity of these numerals, and that is why we use these number symbols today. All right, so you'll learn more about Buddhism and Hinduism later this week. So let's talk a little bit about two other religions, which you will learn a little bit more later on this week as well. So we have Jainism, which is a major-ish religion in India. There's about 5 million people who practice it today. It is polytheistic, meaning they believe in many gods. They also believe in reincarnation. So they believe that one needs to meditate in order to break reincarnation. They believe all animals have a life source. They are extremely nonviolent, so much so that they may wear masks, like this guy right here, and sweep the floor as not to inhale or step on bugs. Some followers only eat what they are given, and they may also practice nudity. Sikhism, that was founded in 1400 CE. It is a monotheistic religion, meaning they believe in only one God, but it is not the same God as Christians, Jews, and Muslims believe in. Okay, two different gods. Okay, there's about 30 million followers today. It was founded by Nanak after he believed God had spoken to him. So they also believe in becoming one with God, but working hard and sharing with others. The Adi Granth is the holy book. It contains nearly 6,000 hymns and songs praising God. It was written by Nanak and other gurus. So a guru is a teacher or an enlightener. Most Sikhs do not drink alcohol, do tobacco, or do drugs. Men can also not cut their hair, so they would wrap their hair up in a turban like this guy has. You survived, but we barely even scratched the surface of India's history. So let's wrap this up. So today we talked about a subcontinent, Indus and Ganges rivers, monsoons, Harappan civilizations, Vedas, Indo-Europeans, caste, matriarchal Hinduism, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Jainism, and Sikhism. Next up, you're going to do U6-L3. What can we learn from artifacts? U6-L2, what can we learn from artifacts? U6-L3, what is Hinduism? U6-L4, what is Buddhism? U6-L5, what is Jainism? U6-L6, what is Sikhism? I know, a lot of religious videos this week. U6-L7, growing up as an untouchable primary source reading and quiz. Unit 6, India Magazine Summative. And then questions, comments, and if you want to learn more, please let us know. We are more than happy to help you. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.